When Vanillaware drops a game, my ass is seated. There's a lot on my mind I want to shoot the shit about after my time with Unicorn Overlord. Starting with the fact that the name is so stupid I can't earnestly recommend it to anybody in a social setting. I also don't need to go over the art because no shit dog, this is Vanillaware we're talking about. They've already mastered 2D art in games almost 30 years now, and they deliver pure raw sex in more ways than one. Though when it comes to the music, the melodies themselves can be pretty forgettable, but the instrumentation, relying on lots of choirs, desperate strings, and soft wind instruments, channeled a heavy influence from Miki Higashino and Yasunori Matsuda. As I was bumbling around the map trying to collect fish, the game transitioned into nighttime for the first time, and that soothing track that played just made me stop and realize. Yeah, no, this game is a hood classic. Partly because it takes heavy influence from the golden age of SRPGs during the mid to late 90s, the most direct comparison being Ogre Battle. From its gameplay to its world building to its narrative that's not even trying to be subtle, it lifts those mechanics directly and polishes them up with more customizability and some quality of life features. For better, and for worse. I'm gonna level with you and be upfront. Dog, I'm not really a fan of any of these games aside from Tactics, of course, but I don't think anybody hates Tactics. While I adore the story and presentation, they don't require more than a single brain cell to break, and it all carries over directly to Unicorn. You get your rape squad with high offensive and mobility to beeline to the objective, the second group with good coverage to clean up defenses and collect items in the field, and a high defense one to guard the base. That's it. That's all it takes to break either of these games in half. I was one-shotting almost every unit on expert difficulty, and I never lost a battle, if you're not counting the Coliseum where enemies were 20 levels over my unit. It's my biggest gripe with this game, since playing any RTS or SRPG that doesn't require any thought kinda defeats the purpose, but thankfully Unicorn provides a whole sort of characters with their individual backgrounds and input into the story that manage to keep me intrigued throughout the game. This is the aspect that Unicorn borrows more from games like Shining Force and Fire Emblem. They can still recruit no-name units, but the game has so many recruitable party members you meet along the way, enough to fill up to 10 entire parties. Regardless of your choice, you can tweak their individual stats, active and passive abilities, and program the order of their actions down to every possible scenario to min-max to your heart's content. It's one of the best implementations of party customization I've seen since the Front Mission games, and I'm already eager to go back and experiment just to find out the dumbest order of actions to kill someone and humiliate them. On the other hand, I still felt like the characterization of all my party members felt pretty limited past their introductions and a handful of rapport skits. Some of them stuck out to me, like Melisandre being fervently horny for you as you stroll in and murder every last one of her defenses. We love girls with BPD here, but this is one of the rare instances where the game interjects combat with chatter. And no, dialogue along the lines of, they've torn down our defenses. We get the Nina killer. That shit doesn't count, dog, I'm sorry. Battles in general can be pretty inconsistent, with stages introducing barriers, hazards, and fog of war seemingly at random instead of slowly ramping up to harder and harder battlefields to traverse through. There's a single stage that sets up a geyser to block flying units from rushing through the map, and then it's never brought up again. This is a problem that also plagues part of the story in Overworld, as once you get to Albion, this gorgeous yet decaying Holy Land where the game arguably reaches its darkest and most conflicting point, all of it gets quickly resolved within 2 fights, for the leaders changed their minds, justifying all their previous actions with the fact that Zenora just cucked them really hard. It's unsatisfying, and it's followed up by a final act that you've already seen played out for decades. While this world is intricate and ever-changing, the overlying narrative feels like they took the outline of every Fire Emblem game and took out all the dragon transformations. The entire game I was waiting for the Zenoran mind control gimmick to be flipped on its head so you can have a scene where one of the traitors is revealed to have been simply broken down into becoming an earnest tyrant, but no. The only time it doesn't work is because this race has a different mind control MacGuffin that we have to waste the next 3 hours alluding to how it operates. The mining minigames and hand-drawn spaghetti graphics had me gripped more than the dark wizard rubbing his hands and spouting foreshadowing diarrhea after every cutscene. I really did get my kicks out of the side content, as shallow as it was. Lots of resource farming and scenario grinding to get more cash and reps. I know a lot of people won't like it, but it offered a steady source of progression while offering breaks between battles, which is one of my key issues with a lot of SRPGs, causing some serious fatigue after the 10-hour mark. It makes it feel like you're slowly taking over continents and restoring them town by town as you reap the rewards of a stronger alliance, rather than it being a 30-hour death march. Getting yourself familiar with the world, each faction's politics, and even getting intimate with some of your units. Yeah, I went for the fox girl. But in my defense, Your Honor, they killed off the hag that was madly in love with your granddad and tries to use you as a vessel for her soul. Now me personally, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but the frauds of Vanillaware hate me, so bestiality it is. Also, they had to change the southeastern continent's name to Dragonhold in the American version, but they forgot to change it in the world map FMV and I still think this game will be praised as another gem in Vanillaware's crown, but it's not without its faults. It's very apparent how unfinished this game is, and it's most likely due to the fact that they ran out of money during development. An issue that also plagued 13 Sentinels before it, and that game also had a lot of issues that dragged it away from being perfect. Regardless, there's still some fundamental issues that could have been remedied by some tighter game design choices or just by looking at all the wells it draws from. Something like Ogre Battle's open-ended approach to storytelling or Town Liberations adding more front-facing exposition could keep players more engaged to seek out the story for themselves rather than sorting through a library of logs. More aggressive or random AI behavior seen in the Shining games or harder reliance on the Fog of War like Fire Emblem could have really ramped up the difficulty. Mid-battle dialogue like in Tactics Ogre and 64 could have went a long way into characterizing villains and add a bit of that emotional stake. Not trying to pretend I'm smart or anything, I know the devs already thought all these things through and they were most likely absent due to lots of restraints, but I feel like as a synergy of all these games it often falls short in many departments, though I still think it manages to cling on by raising the bar for mechanical complexity with a presentation and attention to detail like no other game on the market. Seasoned strategy fan or not, I'd still recommend this game to anyone looking to escape into a gorgeous and lighthearted fantasy war. Fuck it man, I don't care, just go play anything other than Fire Emblem.